So they say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but in my case, I picked myself up and I decided to root somewhere else. You see, my dad was a good man, a really good man, but I didn't want to follow in his footsteps. So this is a tough video to do. I've never done this, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about my upbringing that I'm not proud of, but I'm not upset by. It's made me who I am because I chose to go my own path. You see, my dad was an alcoholic. He was a great man. He wasn't a mean alcoholic, but an alcoholic's an alcoholic. He wasn't always there, and even when he was there, sometimes he wasn't there. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. My dad taught me a lot of really amazing things. He taught me how to fish. He spent a lot of time fishing. My dad taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to create a beautiful garden. He taught me a lot of very simple, basic things. But my dad was a simple, basic man. He worked at a factory and spent his whole life there, and he retired in his 50s, got his pension, and then realized that the dream, the retirement dream, wasn't what it seemed. You see, when he retired, he thought it was all over. I'm just going to go enjoy myself, which maybe he spent the next year doing it, but then he realized, wow, this pension isn't going to provide enough money to do that. And my dad never really focused too much on saving or planning for his retirement because he grew up in an era where, you know, when you worked for a company for 20 or 30 years, the company took care of you in the form of a pension. But what he didn't factor in was the pension didn't keep up with life. So he ended up having to get a job. He worked in construction and various other jobs, and I watched all this. You know, I'd see my dad quite often, and, you know, I watched his alcohol problem get worse and worse. But the one thing I will tell you about my dad is that he never chased his dreams. He really never went after anything outside of his comfort zone. I would see him sometimes try new things, but they were always short-lived. And he tried to keep me safe. He always tried to tell me that my ideas and my dreams wouldn't work, that maybe I shouldn't do them, that I'm going to fail. And I remember one specific time, I was 17 years old. I had started my first company, Fat Clothing Company. My dad really never had much to say about that. I think he was proud of me for it. But, you know, when I came to him the one day with this new idea and I said, Dad, I want to open this skateboard snowboard shop called Fat Man Board Shops, PHAT. We're going to sell skateboards and snowboard apparel and skateboard apparel and sneakers. It's going to be amazing. And here's the numbers and the pro forma and here's my business plan. He didn't even look at it. And I remember him saying to me, I don't think he said it was a stupid idea. I just think he said, it's a lot of risk, son. That might not work. You might lose all this money. I mean, why don't you just get a job at the factory? I'll get you an interview. You can come over. I'll introduce you to all the guys. And, you know, my dad was basically saying, don't follow your dreams. Just do what I did. Be conservative. Stay in your comfort zone. Don't be silly. Just be normal. Well, that wasn't my dream. That wasn't the path I wanted to follow. And I remember not all the details because I was 17, but I remember somehow, some way it went south. I stopped talking to him and I remember mailing him Cats in the Cradle. I remember mailing him the single for that. And I think there was a letter along with it, and I don't recall, and it's probably best that I don't. But I still can't listen to that whole song without crying. I'm not saying what my dad was doing was wrong. He was trying to protect his son. He was trying to keep his son in a safe area that he always lived, in that comfort zone. But what he didn't realize and what he didn't acknowledge is that his son was out for something bigger. His son had bigger dreams than he did. And I think this isn't just my dad, but I think this can be a lot of people's stories, and stories of whether it's your mom or your dad or the people closest to you. They're all there to try to protect you. But they can only protect you up to the level of what they've done in their life. And the one thing I always say is the biggest difference between success and failure is creation. And you can't create if you conform. You can't create your life, your dreams, your future, if all you do is conform to other people's failed dreams, other people's failed realities, and other people's failed futures. Now, my father might not think he had a failed future, but in my eyes, it wasn't the future that I wanted for myself. It wasn't the life I wanted for myself. It just wasn't what I envisioned that I was put on this earth to do. But it could have been very easy for me to follow in his footsteps. Very easy. My gosh, he just paves the way. Gets me an interview, gets me a job. I spend the next 30 years. I work for a company if they don't lay me off, which he got laid off all the time. And then I collect my pension and I do what my dad did. No. That wasn't my path. I saw the effects of the alcohol, and I learned from his failures. So what I started to do, and this came a little bit later in life. Granted, when I was a pro snowboarder and when I was in high school and even college, like I partied a lot. I probably drank way more than I should have, but I was a kid. We all have to follow, we all have to learn and enjoy and test things. And, I did that. And I look back and, I'm kind of surprised I didn't go down that path because I very easily could have probably just said, all I want to do is just be simple. But I remember these rules that I set up. And I set them up, maybe later in my snowboard career because I realized in the early snowboarding career, we drank a lot, we partied a lot, but I would wake up with hangovers and I would go try to ride a contest and I often wouldn't win. So then I started setting rules for my life. Simple things. Because I wanted a different path. I wanted a path that was different from those that I was surrounded by. And when I say those that I was surrounded by, I mean like the kids, and the friends that I grew up with. My dad, I wanted a different path than him. And what I did is I remember vividly, and I still follow this today. I set a rule. I wasn't going to stop drinking, but I was going to set a rule of 3 beers over a period of 3 hours. We all know the rule, 1 beer an hour, right? So what I did is I said, when I'm out socializing or I'm at a work function or a conference, like I'll have a beer in my hand. But if you watch me carefully, I don't care if it's a beer, an old fashioned, whatever it is, watch me closely. You will never see me have more than 2 drinks, alcoholic drinks, or 3 beers, ever. It's a rule, folks. I've set my life up to follow those rules, which means I'm always in control because I know my limits. Doesn't mean I can't go out and have fun. Doesn't mean I can't be one of them. Doesn't mean I can't, act, not even act, but just go out and enjoy it. But I have big things to do. And waking up with hangovers, losing half a day to sleeping because I had a long, hard night, that isn't part of my plan. That isn't me creating the life I want. That is me conforming to the life that I grew up in and the life that I don't want. Let me give you a story, and this is a really good story. It's a story of 2 brothers, okay? There's 2 brothers, both born into the same family, same father. He was an alcoholic father. When you look at their upbringing, both of them could have landed in the exact same place. They were best buds. They were brothers. They did everything together. But as we forward pace through their lives, we see some differences. We see one brother go a path, start creating his life, start really following his dreams and really going after it. And the other one just took the easy path, the comfortable path, dad's path. Later on in life, that one brother became an alcoholic, became exactly what his father was. He was a mirror image of his dad, an alcoholic that really accomplished not much and often sat there wondering what happened. There's the other brother who wasn't an alcoholic. I don't think he even drank, but he went on to create a successful company that solved big problems. They're both the same family, same father. They both could have landed in the exact same place. What was different about the one that ended up successful versus the one that became the mirror image of his alcoholic father? Choice. Choice. One created the life they wanted. The other conformed to the life they knew. My story of my dad, good, bad, or indifferent. I created the life I wanted. I continue to create that life, and I continue to follow my dreams, no matter how big they are, because I know that if my dreams aren't big enough to scare the shit out of me, I'm not dreaming big enough. Keep pushing the envelope, folks. Once you create, you never stop creating. But the flip side, once you conform, you never stop conforming. I don't know what your situation is, folks, but you need to give this advice to others. You need to go out there and you need to share your story, good, bad, or indifferent. Because not everybody comes from the same square box that you were raised in, and not everybody belongs to stay in that square box. You got to decide. Are you going to create or are you going to conform? Pick a side. I hope you enjoyed this video, folks. And if you did, check this one out. Leaning into fear, my story. Thanks for joining me on this one. If you liked it, click the subscribe button and also smash that alerts button so that you can be notified every time I put a new video. We'll see you next time.